You might also consider the way the hip swivel. Is there a hip swivel control, like that's separate from the spine?
Yeah.
Cool. You might give it just a little bit of like a pop and a recoil. So when the foot comes down, with the weight shifts, but it also kind of pops because it's such a jolt. So that might help also to give it a kind of natural feel, that kind of like wiggle, kind of shake that happens. So it'd be, foot comes down, and then it just comes back just a little bit from where the extreme of that is, and then it slowly comes up, and then the other side does the same thing. It slowly levels off the other side.
Yeah.
So that little extra pop kind of helps it feel organic, I think. There's something about the I'm not sure. There's something about the distance the arms move and the stiffness of the torso. I think what it is that timing again of the twist. Feels a little like the upper body is twisting a little evenly, spacing wise. Maybe if you just if your key for the rotate Y is like a flat tangent sort of setup where you have the spline kind of doing its thing.
Mm-hmm.
You might consider taking these handles and stretching them out. Stretching these out so you get a sharper curve. Just a little bit like that. Oh, man.
Break up the timing a little bit for sure.
Yeah, it's drawing so slow right now. It's like still catching up. Okay. This is cool though. It's a cool attitude.
If you haven't seen the video, I'll link it on the page because it's amazing.
Of this rig?
Oh, so it's Kevin B. Perry. He works at Leica. He just recorded himself on a treadmill doing 100 different walk cycles.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
So that's what I'm doing. I just
nice.
Take each one and loop it, and then use that as reference for each of these.
Sweet, awesome, man. Was he wearing heels for that one?
No, but he's got this sass to him that looks great.
Oh yeah, nice. Heels do change the walk though. Check out also cross-reference it with that because sometimes they walk like this, sometimes they flat-footed because you don't want to put too much pressure on the heel itself because then your foot can wobble. Nice. Cool. This one I feel like you can push a little bit of the up and down more.
Totally.
So that you have that kind of thrust forward with the hips, like here, and then the body follows. So you have this kind of downward. You probably come just in the normal downward area. So it might come down to here. If this is where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
You have this dip going, so you have this backwards arc happening in the head, upwards, going forward, and being sneaky.
By the time I did the 5th one today, I definitely realized I'm not pushing these enough. It's kind of sticking too close to the reference, and that's kind of why it's in this weird limbo state between actual CG animation and faux mocap something or other, and just weirdness. It's got a stiffness to it, so I definitely should push those extremes more.
Cool. Yeah, there's that other thing about the references that he does go through a lot of stuff, and it's interesting to see. But you always have to kind of push it from there, and also kind of imagine what it would actually be like to sneak around sometimes, or what it would actually be like to be a girl or to wear high heels, things like that, which can come up. In this case, I tend to feel it feels the way it's moving feels more true to life. It's a good observation of the reference. And I would push you to kind of caricaturize it a little bit more. Same idea along the lines of that dip down. And also, I think if you were to kind of characterize sneaking around, you want kind of to be really stable. So when you're like walking, like I think the arms would tend to be a bit more stable and not kind of like moving too much. Because I think just the idea of sneaking around, I think you want to keep things contained as much as possible. Like you don't want the arms to hit something, but also I think it just feels a bit more, more quiet that way, I think. Yeah. And then, yeah, you might be able to, along the same lines of that backwards arc in the head, maybe it'll push the neck out a little bit when that's happening. And then when the foot comes down, this is some of the brute forcing area that I would probably just go into. Right when the foot comes down, you want to make sure that the toe is pointing down before the actual ball of the foot reaches. And then you'd have the point of the toe and then the ball of the foot. You know, so it would just look like that first. And then you'd have that nice squash from the toe. I think you can also do a little bit more in the shoulders. Like if you were to get that upper body kind of circling around and like dipping down more, you might be able to exaggerate the shoulders a little bit more, where like during some of that, like at the height, you might have the shoulders up, and at the dip down, you might bring the shoulders down and start to kind of roll things a little bit. Yeah, and then even with the timing, like we were saying, you can exaggerate that even more too if you wanted to like spend more time touching the toe down. So there's like this really delicate touch, and then a kind of a quicker transition, and then a delicate toe down, and then quicker transitions. Yeah. You might also try, I don't know if you have it already, but it helps to actually translate them forward also using like the top node control, just to see, because sometimes you'll realize like that actually doesn't work in forward motion. And it just depends on what the shot is. If the camera's following, if it's not, it can need different things sometimes. Yeah, this is a good example of this angle in like a stationary shot, as if the camera was following them.